The original Star Wars theatrical release has been re-released, and some people are divided. Also, people are seemingly united, saying, hey, Disney, how much money could you possibly make if you just put this back in theaters for a week? Today, we'll tell you whether or not that's likely and what the legacy media is up to slamming the original that George built. Hello, folks. Welcome back. It is a dandy of a day. We're happy that you come our way. Truly, we mean it. You are the gigawatts that drive everything that we do here. As we get ready to dive in, consider clicking the like button, and let's go. Here we go. Take a look at this. It's out of the Hollywood Reporter, and it is by James Hibbard. Hibbard, like Dr. Hibbard out of The Simpsons? No, surely not. Star Wars looks terrible in screening of long-lost original 1977 version. This out of the Hollywood Reporter. The years have not been kind to the oft-romanticized original print of the sci-fi classic, which lacks all of George Lucas's post-release tweaks and polishes and looks like a completely different film. All right, before I even get into this article, I'm going to go to the man who knows more than the article writer about this, Lauren Connor. Lauren, tell us about the original print. Why has it been so long that people have not seen this? Does anybody actually hold this in private collections? And why was this a big deal that it was suddenly shown in 2025?
I don't actually know if this came from a private collection or not. I think it did, but I don't know that for sure. And the answer is that, yeah, a lot of the original prints don't survive. Typically, after they get done in their theatrical runs, they go back to the studio. When they were creating the special editions, they ended up destroying a lot of the prints because they were taking splicings from the best versions of sections that they had, cutting those out and splicing them into a new print and doing additional color correction and adding the additional effects and all of that stuff. So Lucasfilm had an interest in not having the original prints out there anymore. George didn't want to have it displayed or acknowledged pretty much in any way. And the big deal for this screening was that Kathleen Kennedy actually showed up, and she said she did so because she didn't want anybody to think it was an illegal screening. This is such an original print that this is pre the edits where Episode 4 was put in there. This is like the real original Star Wars print. So it was kind of a special screening.
All right, let's take a look at what the article says here and get some extra context. A long-lost original print of 1977 Star Wars was recovered from an archive and screened for a group of cinema aficionados and diehard fans. An audience was finally permitted to watch the first released version of the film, nearly perfectly preserved and unfaded, that creator George Lucas famously suppressed from being publicly shown on a big screen for 47 years. The British Film Institute event was introduced by Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy, who joked that the screening was, quote-unquote, not illegal. What you're going to see is, in fact, the first print, and I'm not even sure there's another one quite like it, Kennedy said. It's that rare. And the result, an attending film critic from The Telegraph who attended the screening last week admitted the unaltered original looks terrible by modern standards. Goes on to say, while fans understandably tend to focus on Lucas's most intrusive creative moves, the amount of subsequent polish and tweaks over the years is so extensive that many aspects of the original look just as noticeably fake as the egregious CG. I felt like I was watching a completely different film, wrote Robbie Collin, who called the print a joyously craggy, grubby, stodily carpentered spectacle that looks more like fancy dress than grand sci-fi epic. And congratulations to the thesaurus, which was ripped up to make that sentence happen. Every scene had the visceral sense of watching actual people photographed doing actual things with sets and props that had been physically sawn and glued into place. The slapstick between C-3PO and R2-D2 looked clunkier and therefore funnier. The Death Star panels were less like supercomputers than wooden boards with lights stuck on, and so better attuned to the frequency of make-believe. It felt less like watching a blockbuster in the modern sense than the greatest game of dressing up in the desert anyone ever played. All right, I'm going to do the rare thing of going back to you, Lauren, one more time before we go to the rest of the panel. The way this is being described, I can't decide whether or not it's a smackdown against George and you know, kind of claiming, oh, well, you know, the original isn't all that great. You should be happy that Disney has come in and, you know, is preserving these and is not giving you access readily to this kind of stuff. You don't want it. You don't need it. I can't decide if it's that or if it's faint praise of it. I can't quite grasp what the what the angle is here. Help us understand.
Well, look, I'm not a guy that gets hung up on the original version of the movie or one of the original versions before the special editions. That makes me something of a heretic amongst the fan base. I think I prefer the special editions, despite the fact that I do have some problems with some changes. But one of the reasons for that is they did clean up the print so much. And I think people forget or maybe never actually saw the originals. And so you have to remember the era that this was made in. It was 1977. If you look at the original print, it actually bears a fair resemblance to some of the Doctor Who stuff that would have been coming out at the time, in the sense of the quality of the sets and what they had to work with. So I am a guy that says that even though it wouldn't be my personal pick to watch the originals, I do want it available so that people can watch it if that's their preferred version. I suspect that George did stick in some language when he sold the company that would not be released for sale again, because he does not consider that his version of the film. But I think it would be better if you had that available for the audience to purchase and have it in their home collections the way that they want to see it. I do think that it would probably shock a lot of people who haven't seen the original version for quite a while, though, especially when put up against the more modern film.
Vash, your thoughts on whether or not Disney should go ahead and release the original onto Disney Plus or somewhere else so that true Star Wars fans can go back and make the comparison?
I think it would be a boon for Disney Plus if they did. I mean, a lot of people have been requesting this version for quite some time. It's
hold on, Vash. How much would it make if they put it in the box office?
Oh, I mean, it's
one weekend original Star Wars, and then say we're never putting it back out again. Get it while you can.
Okay, if you were to say that, you're probably looking at a bit over $80 million domestically, I would think, in the first weekend.
If you were to say that, $80 million, you agree with Vash on that?
What did Revenge of the Sith pull when they just recently released it?
I think 50.
Okay, so it got higher than I thought. Yeah, you might be right. I'd say at least 60 then, and 80 would certainly be attainable. So yeah.
All right, Vash, keep going. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I think a lot of people have been looking to see this particular film, especially in theatrical. I mean, that would be a huge boom. But Disney Plus alone would be compelling enough, I would think, for people to jump onto the platform. Actually, just kind of dabble into this. What is kind of mythical version of the film that people have been hearing about a lot. In terms of my opinion of this specific feature right there, I think Lauren may have touched on it a little bit, but George Lucas, he was very much about, at this time anyway, when he was actually creating Star Wars, was more about okay, it's going to be an assemblage of low quality shots, let's say, but cut really, really fast, and you're going to have a bunch of them, right? And slowly over time, it's as he's been able to accrue more money and finances and technology, obviously, it's okay, can we imbue this with a little bit more quality than we could have ever done back in 1977? And I think for the most part, he took that tack. Now, the things where it gets a little bit controversial is adding in the Jabba the Hutt scene, for example, or the Greedo shot first scene, right? That gets, I think, the most contentious from the fans. And I think for a lot of people, they are, when they think about the original screening, they think of those specific changes, right? And they want to see that film and its narrative preserved in that way. And I think that's where the allure comes from. But you have to remember that a lot of those changes that have stuck in our mind from having seen these screenings of the special edition and so forth come from these little changes that were made that you don't necessarily connect with the original screen with the original until you actually go see people have cobbled together, let's say, original versions of the film, and they see those and they go, ooh, that looked a little rough.
I got a feeling nobody was sneaking a camera, an old VHS camcorder into the theater for this thing. Nolan, your thoughts on whether or not Disney is missing a major opportunity? They actually could make bank. They could fix some of these flops they've had in 2025 by just releasing the original Star Wars for one weekend.
Well, they could have done a lot more to make bank if that was their top priority, because Revenge of the Sith was making buku bucks at the theatrical re-release. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, it was the biggest re-release ever for a film financial-wise. And they still decided to pull it, you know, when they were done. They had its run, they were done, and if they kept it out for another month or so, it probably could have made a quarter or double what it was already making, in my personal opinion here. I am about 97% sure from my own personal theories here that George Lucas had some sort of stipulation in the contract when he, you know, sold Lucasfilm to Disney that the original version of Star Wars, there needed to be some catches if they were going to re-release it, or perhaps they had to wait a certain amount of time. I don't know the details. I am not a lawyer. But at the end of the day here, I think if they wanted to do this, they would have done it a while ago. I think there's some things that are keeping them from doing it, and I don't think money is the big agenda at Lucasfilm anymore.
Well,
Wow. Well, if money isn't the goal, go ahead, Lauren.
It's worse than that in the way, because you mentioned them pulling Revenge of the Sith. They pulled Revenge of the Sith because it was going up against Snow White, and they didn't want to get even more embarrassed there. If they had just kept it there, it would have pulled down more. And they just didn't want to compete against themselves.
There you go. Well, folks, we're going to pay close attention to it. And despite what the Hollywood Reporter might say, I think a lot of people out there would be swayed to go see it. Put it out there. Let the fans decide. Don't divide them any longer, and don't force them to have to do bootlegged versions. Let's go, Disney. Now we know you got it, and you can show it. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We are done for now, but don't worry. Do not fret. Not yet, for more content is still coming your way 4 times a day right here on the Pro Channel. What a joy it has been to share our time with you. We hope you feel the same. Adding value to your every single day is our job here, and we take it very seriously. Folks, the only thing we ask in return is that you consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it. Stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. And drop a comment right on down below. And folks, if you'd like to subscribe to our partner YouTube channels, That Park Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and some of those radio stations like Vacation Radio, well, we certainly would appreciate it. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time and being invited into your day, folks, we go on our way saying this: keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun. Jump into the
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.